Over the past week, the world has followed the story of the sub Titan and the 5 people who perished in the terrible tragedy.
In June 2023, a daring expedition to the wreck of the Titanic turned into one of the most haunting tragedies in modern exploration. A high-tech submersible on a journey to the deepest depths of the North Atlantic vanished without a trace. What followed was a massive search operation, intense media scrutiny, and a growing sense of mystery that has captivated the world. Join us as we uncover the chilling truth about what happened to the Titan and why its final moments are still hauntingly unclear. Titan's final dive. The loss of the Titan submersible has left the world in shock.
Titan, that's the submersible that imploded on a deep dive in the North Atlantic with the loss of 5 lives.
With many wondering what could have caused such a devastating tragedy. Up until now, the investigation into the incident has been clouded with uncertainty and speculation. But recent revelations from the US Navy have begun to piece together some of the final moments of the Titan's ill-fated journey and reveal just how their advanced technology helped uncover the truth. The Titan, originally known as Cyclops II, was a submersible designed to carry 5 people to the deepest reaches of the ocean. Operated by OceanGate Incorporated, this 6.7-meter vessel was constructed from a mix of carbon fiber and titanium, a combination chosen for its strength and lightness. The submersible's pressure vessel was made of 2 titanium hemispheres, joined by a carbon fiber wound cylinder, and featured a 15-inch acrylic window for viewing the ocean depths. Despite its impressive design, the Titan had some issues. Originally built to dive as deep as 4,000 meters, or 13,000 feet, its depth rating was reduced to 3,000 meters, which is about 9,800 feet, after signs of fatigue in the hull were discovered. By 2020 and 2021, repairs had been made to the vessel's structure, but questions about its integrity remained.
And why, for days on end, was the world led to believe there was hope for a successful rescue mission?
The Titan's construction raised some eyebrows, particularly its sourcing of materials. The carbon fiber used for the submersible's hull had been purchased at a discount from Boeing, which claimed the materials were too old for use in its airplanes. While OceanGate defended its choices, the decision not to seek official certification for the vessel added to the concerns. The company argued that strict safety protocols would hinder innovation. But in 2019, Lloyd's Register, a well-known ship classification society, refused to classify the Titan due to its unconventional design. Despite these controversies, the Titan made a name for itself as an impressive piece of engineering. It was capable of reaching depths of up to 3,000 meters and could travel at speeds of up to 3 knots. That is, about 5.6 kilometers per hour with its 4 electric thrusters. The submersible vanished on June 18, 2023. Aboard the ill-fated vessel were 5 individuals, each with their own unique connection to the journey. Stockton Rush, the CEO of OceanGate, led the expedition.
Yes, I mean, we'd like to do, we want to do to ocean exploration what Hollywood's been able to do with space exploration.
Alongside him were Shahzada Dawood and his son Suleiman Dawood, members of a prominent Pakistani family known for their business acumen. British adventurer Hamish Harding, whose daring exploits had earned him international recognition, was also on board, as well as renowned Titanic expert Paul-Henri Nargeolet, whose deep knowledge of the wreckage had made him a key figure in underwater exploration. The search for the missing submersible began when the Titan failed to make contact after descending into the depths of the Atlantic Ocean. For days, authorities were left in the dark, unsure of the submersible's fate. However, the US Navy's advanced oceanic monitoring systems quickly swung into action. Within hours of the Titan's disappearance, a top-secret Navy acoustic detection system picked up a strange sound. Though the source of the sound wasn't immediately clear, the Navy's swift response was crucial. Their highly sensitive sonar and acoustic systems, capable of picking up faint signals from deep underwater, allowed them to narrow the search area and focus on a specific region. While details of the sound were still being analyzed, this early detection was key in guiding rescue teams toward the wreckage.
A somber moment at quayside as the debris from the Titan submersible was unloaded.
The sound of tragedy. As search efforts for the Titan unfolded, one term repeatedly surfaced: acoustic anomaly. But what does it mean? And how did this phenomenon play a role in uncovering the submersible's tragic end? In simple terms, an acoustic anomaly is any underwater sound that doesn't fit the usual patterns. These sounds can range from faint hums to sharp bangs, often leaving experts puzzled. They might originate from natural events like earthquakes, marine life, human activities, or even mechanical failures. In the case of the Titan, the acoustic anomaly detected by the US Navy was a mysterious noise. This wasn't just any sound. It was the sound of a sudden, violent implosion.
Catastrophic implosion. That's what the United States Coast Guard says happened to the submersible.
The Navy, however, didn't immediately share this information. An implosion at such depths is an incredibly powerful event. The ocean pressure at 12,500 feet is about 5,400 pounds per square inch, enough to crush even the sturdiest equipment in seconds. For comparison, that's like having the weight of 1,600 elephants pressing down on every square inch of the submersible's surface. When the Titan's pressure-resistant hull failed, the implosion would have been instantaneous, creating a massive shockwave. This violent event generated sound waves that traveled rapidly through the water, detectable by the Navy's sophisticated acoustic monitoring systems. These systems, designed to pick up even faint underwater sounds, could easily identify the unique signature of an implosion. For trained analysts, the sound would have been unmistakable, loud, sudden, and tragically final. While the implosion sound was detected soon after the Titan's dive, search teams continued their efforts, driven by faint hope. Days later, reports of rhythmic banging noises reignited optimism that the submersible and its occupants might still be intact.
And some major new reporting tonight. The Navy says it detected an acoustic anomaly consistent with an implosion.
These sounds, detected by Canadian P-3 aircraft using sonobuoys, occurred every 30 minutes and were picked up over several hours. Speculation grew that they could be SOS signals from the trapped crew, desperately seeking rescue. The US Coast Guard, eager to leave no stone unturned, treated the noises as potential evidence of life. Unfortunately, further analysis revealed that these banging sounds had no connection to the Titan or its occupants. The origin of the noises remains unknown, adding yet another layer of mystery to the story. But as hope still lingered in the search efforts, could the Navy have already known something that would change everything? Hope and secrecy.
The U.S. Coast Guard says it's likely recovered human remains from the wreckage of the Titan submersible.
As search teams raced to locate the missing sub, a crucial piece of the puzzle was already in the hands of the US Navy: the sound of a catastrophic implosion. However, the Navy initially kept this discovery a secret, prompting questions and even conspiracy theories. But the truth behind this decision reveals thoughtful, practical reasons rooted in the complexity of maritime operations. To understand the Navy's actions, it's essential to grasp the division of responsibilities between the US Navy and the US Coast Guard. While the Navy primarily focuses on military operations and national security, the Coast Guard handles search and rescue missions. In cases like the Titan's disappearance, these two entities work together, blending their expertise. When the US Navy detected the implosion through its advanced acoustic monitoring systems, it chose not to immediately disclose this information, prioritizing the ongoing rescue mission. Initially, the US Coast Guard had reason to hope for a different outcome. Reports of rhythmic banging sounds, potentially SOS signals, raised the possibility that the Titan's crew might still be alive, awaiting rescue. In such situations, search and rescue operations must continue until all possibilities are exhausted. Revealing the implosion sound too soon could have prematurely ended these efforts, leaving families and the public questioning whether everything possible had been done. Moreover, the Navy's decision aligned with standard procedures for maritime emergencies. When a distress call is received, the primary focus is on finding survivors. In this case, search teams scoured the ocean using sonobuoys, aircraft, and remotely operated vehicles. If the Navy had announced its detection of an implosion, it risked disrupting this coordinated effort.
We know the American Coast Guard, they've had aircraft up, also scouring the area.
By keeping the information confidential, the Navy ensured that no stone was left unturned in the search for the Titan and its 5 passengers. It's also important to note that military organizations like the US Navy often operate under strict confidentiality during active missions. Sharing unverified data or speculation could lead to misinformation, confusion, or unnecessary panic. The Navy was likely cautious because while its acoustic systems are incredibly advanced, interpreting underwater sounds is a complex science. Even though the implosion sound was clear to experts, confirming its connection to the Titan required further analysis. Another factor was the potential impact on future operations. The U.S. Navy's acoustic monitoring capabilities are a critical asset for national security, often used to detect foreign submarines or other underwater threats. Publicly discussing the details of these systems could compromise their effectiveness or reveal sensitive information to other nations. Thus, the Navy's discretion was not only about the Titan, but also about protecting broader strategic interests. The immense pressure at the depths where the Titan was operating, around 12,500 feet, adds another layer of context. At such depths, any structural failure would result in a violent and instantaneous implosion, generating a powerful acoustic signal. The Navy's ability to detect this sound demonstrates the sophistication of its technology. However, given the stakes, it's understandable that the Navy chose to fully analyze the data before making any public statements. Ultimately, the Navy's decision was guided by a careful balance of priorities, supporting the Coast Guard's search and rescue efforts, maintaining the integrity of its operations, and ensuring accurate information. While the delay in revealing the implosion sound may have raised eyebrows, it reflects the challenges of responding to a complex and tragic maritime disaster. By the time the implosion was confirmed and made public, the focus had shifted to understanding what went wrong and preventing similar tragedies in the future. Ambition, warnings, and catastrophic failure. As investigators continue to piece together a timeline of events surrounding the Titan's disappearance, new findings have shed light on what led to the catastrophic implosion and the critical missteps along the way. It is a tale of ambition, danger, and ultimately devastating consequences. In June 2023, a daring expedition set out aboard the MV Polar Prince. The mission was to explore the wreck of the Titanic, lying 12,500 feet below the surface of the North Atlantic, approximately 375 nautical miles off the coast of Newfoundland. After delays caused by one of the harshest winters in 40 years, the team arrived at the dive site on June 17th, eager to make their descent into history. The weather had been unforgiving, and their window for a successful mission was quickly closing. Time, as they would tragically learn, was not on their side. Early on June 18th, final preparations for the dive were underway. Around 4 a.m., the Titan began its descent. Spirits were high as the vessel disappeared into the depths, its passengers excited about the opportunity to witness the Titanic firsthand. For a brief period, the mission seemed to be going according to plan. The Titan was checking in with the Polar Prince every 15 minutes via short digital messages. These updates were crucial for ensuring the submersible's progress and addressing any potential problems. But beneath the surface, serious risks had been ignored. The Titan was a groundbreaking vessel, constructed using an experimental combination of carbon fiber and titanium. While its innovative design allowed it to operate at extreme depths, it had also been a source of concern for industry experts. Warnings about its structural integrity and the dangers of bypassing certification standards had been raised long before the mission.
Who died in the implosion made bad engineering decisions and ignored safety concerns.
In 2018, OceanGate's former director of marine operations, David Lockridge, was dismissed after highlighting flaws in the submersible's hull design and testing procedures. Multiple letters from leading engineers also cautioned against the risks of operating a vessel without rigorous certification. OceanGate, however, dismissed these concerns, arguing that certification requirements stifled innovation. The company pressed forward, confident in their design and vision for deep-sea exploration. Approximately 2 hours into the dive, communication with the Titan suddenly ceased. Efforts to re-establish contact were unsuccessful, and the crew aboard the Polar Prince was faced with a dire situation. The submersible was equipped with enough breathable air to last 96 hours, but every minute lost was critical in the search for survivors. Alarmingly, it took nearly 8 hours after losing contact for the Polar Prince to alert authorities. This unexplained delay would prove costly, as precious time slipped away in what would become a desperate, multinational rescue effort. When the alarm was finally raised, US and Canadian military forces joined the search. Aircraft scoured the ocean from above, while naval ships equipped with sonar systems combed the depths. The mission was made even more challenging by the Titan's lack of standard safety features, such as an emergency beacon or a reliable recovery system. With no clear idea of the submersible's location, rescuers were searching for a needle in a haystack. By June 20th, fears began to solidify into grim reality. Experts speculated that the Titan's hull had likely succumbed to the immense pressure of the ocean depths. At 12,500 feet, the pressure is an almost unimaginable 5,400 pounds per square inch. The slightest flaw in the vessel's structure would have led to catastrophic failure. The implosion, if it occurred, would have been instantaneous, leaving no chance of survival for those aboard. It was a devastating possibility that no one wanted to confirm. On June 22nd, the US Coast Guard made a grim announcement. A debris field had been discovered near the Titanic wreck site.
Approximately 1,600 feet from the bow of the Titanic on the seafloor.
This discovery, made by Pelagic Research Services' Odysseus 6K remotely operated vehicle, came 5 hours into an intense search. The initial findings hinted at what everyone feared, and during a press conference in Boston, the Coast Guard confirmed the devastating truth. The debris belonged to the Titan. The submersible had indeed suffered a catastrophic implosion. The wreckage was located about 1,600 feet northeast of the Titanic's bow, scattered across the ocean floor in 2 distinct debris fields. Among the recovered pieces were the tail cone, which wasn't part of the pressure vessel, and the forward and aft end bells. These end bells were integral to the pressure vessel that shielded the crew from the crushing ocean depths. Their disintegration told a tragic story. The submersible's structure had failed in the face of the immense pressure. Rear Admiral John Mauger of the US Coast Guard described the scene in somber terms. The debris was consistent with a catastrophic loss of the pressure chamber. The implosion, Mauger explained, was the result of an incredibly unforgiving environment, where the immense pressure at over 12,000 feet deep left no room for mechanical or structural errors. The implosion unfolded faster than the human brain could even register. Simulations conducted in late 2023 suggest the entire collapse of the vessel took place in less than 1 second, possibly just tens of milliseconds. This means the 5 people on board wouldn't have had time to process what was happening.
Urgent search right now intensifying for that tiny sub that went missing, carrying 5 people to the wreckage of the Titanic.
They would have died instantly, with no pain, as the crushing pressure of the deep ocean overwhelmed the submersible's structure and their bodies. When asked about the possibility of recovering the bodies of the 5 individuals aboard, Mauger's response underscored the harshness of the deep sea. He could not provide a definitive answer, but acknowledged the challenges posed by the conditions at that depth. The discovery of the debris marked a tragic turning point in the search. What had begun as a race against time to rescue the missing explorers had transformed into a somber mission to understand what went wrong. For the families of the 5 victims, it was the devastating end of a search that had captured the world's attention. The discovery of the wreckage also marked the beginning of an investigation into what had gone so terribly wrong. Investigating the Titan tragedy. On June 23, 2023, both the Canadian and United States federal governments officially announced investigations into the Titan tragedy, marking the beginning of a coordinated effort to uncover what went wrong. Shortly after, authorities from France and the United Kingdom joined, underscoring the international concern surrounding the disaster. The investigations aim to provide a full understanding of the events that led to the implosion and will culminate in a report submitted to the International Maritime Organization, IMO. The United States Coast Guard took charge of the American investigation, designating the event as a major marine casualty. This allowed the Coast Guard to work alongside the National Transportation Safety Board, pooling expertise to tackle the case. Captain Jason Neubauer, appointed as chief investigator, began leading a Marine Board of Investigation.
Is the highest level of investigation the Coast Guard conducts.
One of the highest levels of inquiry within the Coast Guard. At first, officials hoped the investigation would conclude within a year. However, as Captain Neubauer later explained, the incident's complexity and the involvement of multiple international partners required more time to ensure every detail was thoroughly examined. In Canada, the Transportation Safety Board, TSB, launched its own investigation since the Polar Prince, the Titan's support vessel, was a Canadian-flagged ship. Investigators traveled to St. John's, Newfoundland, the expedition's starting point, to collect evidence and interview witnesses. Meanwhile, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police began their own preliminary examination of the case. They sought to determine whether any criminal or regulatory violations had occurred under Canadian law. If evidence suggested wrongdoing, a full criminal investigation could follow. The fallout from the tragedy extended beyond government probes. On August 6, 2024, the family of Paul-Henri Nargeolet, one of the 5 victims, filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Ocean Gate. The lawsuit accused the company of negligence, focusing on its decision to operate the Titan despite repeated warnings about the vessel's safety. The lawsuit highlighted a critical issue: the blurred line between innovation and recklessness in extreme exploration. Ocean Gate's insistence on sidestepping traditional safety protocols in favor of rapid development has been a focal point of both legal action and public scrutiny. The families of the victims hope the legal proceedings will bring accountability and push for stricter safety standards to prevent similar tragedies. As the investigations unfold, they aim to reveal not just the technical failures, but also the human decisions that led to the disaster. Yet the Titan tragedy is just one chapter in a much larger story, one that underscores both the peril and promise of venturing into the ocean's most extreme depths. The challenges of deep-sea exploration. Deep-sea exploration is one of the most challenging and awe-inspiring pursuits undertaken by humans. While space exploration often takes the spotlight with its vastness and unknowns, the deep sea presents a similarly formidable frontier. Unlike the relatively predictable conditions of space, the ocean depths are hostile and unpredictable, pushing the limits of engineering and human perseverance.
So, I am assuming whoever engineered this pressure vessel.
At depths exceeding 3,280 feet, the ocean exerts pressures over 100 times greater than at sea level.
With each passing minute, the equivalent of 5.3 atmospheres of pressure would be added to the sub's hull.
For perspective, each additional 32 feet adds about 1 atmosphere of pressure, making the environment increasingly unforgiving. At the Mariana Trench, the deepest known part of the ocean, pressures reach around 16,000 pounds per square inch, capable of instantly crushing conventional materials. To withstand such immense forces, deep-sea vehicles are engineered with specialized materials like titanium or syntactic foam, which provide strength and buoyancy. The Deep-Sea Challenger, piloted by filmmaker James Cameron in 2012, showcased the power of such innovations when it reached the bottom of the Mariana Trench. The perpetual darkness of the deep ocean adds another layer of complexity. Sunlight cannot penetrate beyond about 3,280, leaving the environment in total darkness. Advanced sonar systems are essential for navigation and mapping, emitting sound waves that help locate obstacles and create detailed images of the underwater terrain. Artificial lighting is also crucial for visual exploration, but designing lights capable of withstanding extreme pressure and corrosion is no small feat. These lights allow scientists to study marine life and underwater geology, offering glimpses into ecosystems that remain largely a mystery. In addition to darkness and pressure, freezing temperatures define the deep-sea environment. The water temperature near the ocean floor often hovers just above freezing, around 0 degrees Celsius. Such frigid conditions can damage both equipment and human operators without proper insulation and heating systems. Submersibles must be designed to counteract these extreme cold temperatures to ensure functionality and safety. This constant exposure to near-freezing temperatures also causes material fatigue, requiring careful engineering to prevent equipment failure. Salt water itself presents a significant challenge to exploration. The corrosive properties of seawater can quickly degrade metal components and electrical systems. High salinity combined with the deep-sea environment increases the risk of corrosion and short circuits, which can compromise entire missions. To combat this, engineers use specialized coatings, sacrificial anodes, and advanced sealing techniques to protect vehicles and tools. Without these measures, the operational life of submersibles would be dramatically shortened, jeopardizing both scientific goals and human safety. Despite the dangers and difficulties, deep-sea exploration has advanced remarkably, thanks to institutions like the US Navy and organizations such as the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. The Navy has a rich history of contributing to underwater exploration, having developed groundbreaking technologies like the bathyscaphe Trieste, which reached the Challenger Deep in 1960. The Alvin submersible, another engineering marvel, has played a crucial role in major discoveries, such as exploring hydrothermal vents and the wreck of the Titanic. These achievements demonstrate the immense value of collaboration between military and scientific communities. Unmanned and remotely operated vehicles, ROVs.
How do scientists study the ocean without ever getting wet? Using remotely operated vehicles, or ROVs.
Have also revolutionized deep-sea exploration by eliminating the risks to human life. These robotic systems, like the Odysseus 6K ROV employed during the Titan's recovery operation, are equipped with cameras, sensors, and sampling tools, enabling scientists to gather data from extreme depths. ROVs have been instrumental in studying underwater phenomena, from mysterious marine life to geological processes such as underwater volcanic activity. Their ability to operate autonomously or under remote control has greatly expanded the scope of oceanographic research. Deep-sea exploration is more than just a pursuit of curiosity. It holds immense scientific, economic, and environmental value. The ocean floor is home to unique ecosystems that thrive in extreme conditions, such as hydrothermal vents. These ecosystems harbor life forms that may offer clues to the origins of life on Earth and have potential applications in biotechnology and medicine. Moreover, the seafloor contains significant natural resources, including rare earth minerals, oil, and gas, which are crucial for modern industries. Responsible exploration of these resources could help meet global demands, but it also raises concerns about environmental sustainability and the need to protect fragile ecosystems. Despite the progress made, much of the deep ocean remains uncharted. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration estimates that over 80% of the ocean is still unexplored. This vast unknown highlights the importance of continued investment in research and technology to unlock the mysteries of the deep sea. However, the risks involved in such missions cannot be ignored. Tragedies like the OceanGate Titan submersible incident serve as stark reminders of the need for rigorous safety standards and meticulous engineering. But when the deep sea reminds us of its unforgiving nature, the cost of exploration isn't measured only in scientific progress. It's measured in lives, resources, and the immense efforts to bring answers from the depths. Cost and controversy. The search for the Titan was one of the most expansive rescue missions in recent history, involving a massive deployment of resources from multiple nations. The US Coast Guard and US Air Force led efforts with advanced technology and manpower, scouring the North Atlantic for any trace of the missing submersible. By June 23, 2023, just days after the mission began, an analysis by Mark Cancian, a defense budget expert, estimated the US Coast Guard's operations had already cost approximately $1.2 million.
The U.S. and Canadian Coast Guard searching a remote area in the North Atlantic, near where the Titanic originally sank.
This figure covered only the initial search efforts and did not include the additional expenses for recovering debris and other follow-up operations. Cancian noted that while the funds for the search came from existing federal budgets, the US military inevitably incurred unplanned costs due to the sudden and extraordinary nature of the mission. On the Canadian side, significant resources were also committed. The deployment of a single Lockheed CP-140 Aurora aircraft and 341 sonobuoys alone cost Canadian taxpayers at least CAD $3 million. When all expenditures are accounted for, the total cost of Canada's involvement is expected to be far higher. While these figures reflect the financial magnitude of the operation, officials emphasized that saving lives and offering closure to grieving families outweighed monetary concerns. Chris Boyer of the National Association for Search and Rescue described the mission as one likely to have cost millions of dollars, a sentiment echoed by many involved. Despite the staggering costs, the US Coast Guard has firmly refused to attach a price tag to their efforts. Their stance is simple yet profound. They do not associate cost with saving a life. This guiding principle reflects the ethos of rescue missions, an unwavering commitment to prioritize human lives over financial considerations, regardless of who is involved. Federal law generally prohibits the US Coast Guard from collecting reimbursement for search and rescue operations, a policy that underscores the government's responsibility to protect those in need. Yet the Titan tragedy reignited a long-standing debate about whether taxpayers should foot the bill for rescue missions tied to high-risk adventures, especially when wealthy individuals are involved. Comparisons were drawn to past incidents, such as the searches for adventurers like Steve Fossett and Richard Branson. Critics argue that ventures like the Titan dive, risky, experimental, and exorbitantly priced, should not rely on public funds when things go wrong. Proponents, however, counter that the value of human life transcends economic status, and rescue missions should be blind to personal wealth. As the story unfolded, public discourse took a darker turn. Social media erupted with commentary, much of it grimly humorous. Internet users mocked the Titan's construction, OceanGate's safety practices, and even the victims themselves. Memes flooded platforms with interactive video game recreations and image macros, turning the tragedy into fodder for ridicule. This wave of public schadenfreude sparked heated debates. Critics, though, condemned the insensitivity of these memes, calling them inappropriate and a little bit sick. Many saw the reaction as a troubling reflection of modern internet culture, a mix of irony, provocation, and anger aimed at anything perceived as elitist. Molly Roberts, writing for The Washington Post, observed that the jokes were fueled by a growing eat the rich sentiment, where people express resentment toward the wealthy by mocking their misfortunes. Some argued that the backlash was a reaction to media narratives that often romanticize billionaire escapades, like space flights by Blue Origin or record-breaking expeditions. To many, the Titan tragedy symbolized the risks of unchecked ambition and privilege. Yet beneath the surface of memes and criticism lay a deep discomfort with the reality of the incident, a disaster that revealed not only flaws in engineering and oversight, but also the fragility of human life in the face of nature's unforgiving power. How far should humanity go in pursuing the thrill of exploration, especially when the risks are as deep as the ocean itself? Share your opinion in the comments below.